There's Mr. Montalvo.
We're live here, so just keep that in mind. We've almost got all the board members promoted, so we should be ready to start here any moment. Okay.
Looks like we have everybody.
Yeah, we're good to go. Okay, should we call the meeting to order, Mr.
Yeah, I was
President?
trying to get my mic off of mute. So good morning, everyone. Roll call, trustee Andrade Zuniga,
Present.
trustee Linda Elise Dwyer,
Present.
trustee Land,
Present.
okay, trustee Hanley,
Yes.
okay, and I'm here. So the board is all here. Public comment language.
Excuse me, Mr. President, we should probably do that. We have a translator here, Mr. Enrique Montaldo. Mr. Montaldo, do you want to, well, so if folks would like translation, we have an interpretation globe at the bottom of the Zoom screen. And so after you, Mr. Montaldo, make that announcement, we'll turn that on.
Okay, that was one of the comments I was going to make, but you apparently read my mind and helped me along the way. This is a public meeting of the San Mateo Union High School District Board of Trustees. If you wish to make a comment about an agenda item or during public comments section at the beginning of the agenda, please send an email to comments@SMUHSD.org with your name, email address, and your Zoom name if different, and the item under which you would like to comment. The board will call on you. Please note that comments are limited to 3 minutes. The board president may increase or decrease the time allowed for public presentation depending upon the topic and the number of persons wishing to speak. And you've already introduced Enrique Montaldo, and for those who want to hear the Spanish translation option, it's apparently up and running. So, okay.
I don't know. Is it actually up and running? Because doesn't he have to?
Yeah. Mr. Montaldo, could you translate just the part about going to the Spanish translation, and we'll go from there.
Okay, absolutely. I have to be prompted though to go to Spanish.
Yeah, we'll move you. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
So if you could just tell folks who might be in attendance who would like to hear the Spanish version how to do that, and you'll put that on, or you can do it now, I think. All right.
All right. All right.
Oh, no, you need, Mr. Montaldo, you need to stay with us and then go into the interpretation, because otherwise we can't hear you now. So we still can't hear him, right? Because he's in the, you need to toggle off the Spanish version, Mr. Montaldo. Why don't you just eliminate that, and then we'll put it back on. Okay, now I think you can do it, Mr. Montaldo.
All right. Me presento entonces rápidamente, ¿o no? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. So shall I introduce myself very briefly?
Yeah.
Okay. Muy buenos días a las personas que están asistiendo a esta reunión. Mi nombre es Enrique Montaldo y voy a ser el intérprete en español para la sesión de hoy día y espero las futuras sesiones. Muchas gracias.
Okay. Great.
Okay, now it's available. Okay, so we're going to move on to C1. Dr. Skelly.
Right. So this item is brought back at the request of the majority of the board to review and reconsider the possibility of having the pride flag over our sites in recognition of Gay Pride Month, which is June, and October, which is LGBTQ History Month. So I think the board and the public are familiar with this topic, and so I'll turn it back over to you, Mr. Griffin.
Okay, apparently there are seven speakers who wish to comment on this item.
It's 8 now, but yes.
Okay. The 7 that I have, I don't know who the 8th is, but I have a written list. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, I have a question. If we've received written comments that just for people that haven't been able to join today, can we read those out?
Good question.
I mean, so certainly a board member can do that if they would like to do that. That they are a matter of public record since you received them. Anything a board member receives is a matter of public record. So we could do that. I know the board has received many copies that may or may not be what board members want to do. That's up to you.
Okay.
Well, and there's some that I think a couple have been sent to all of us for people that haven't been able to participate. I mean, I'd be willing to read some if that's okay.
Well, that would be as part of the, hold on a second. Yes, trustees Lees Dwyer.
I think I would recommend that we listen to the public comments.
Well,
and
yes.
If there's anything new in what Trustee Zuniga has that she would like to then share with us, that we do that, because we have received a number of emails. And so rather than be redundant, if there's anything different, I would think we should hear that she might have that we don't have and that we've not heard today.
So then would we do that as part of our discussion, or would we have that as part of the
As
I think
Dr.
it would
Scully
be-
was saying, it's part of our
discussion?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah,
So we'll
because-
have public comment for the public that wishes to speak now.
Yes.
And the first person I show is Sharon Henricks.
Shannon Henricks, hi.
Sorry.
Thank you so much. That's okay.
I apologize.
That's okay. I want to thank everybody for letting me speak today, board members and district leadership. My name is Shannon Henricks. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a proud member of the LGBTQ community. I've been lucky enough to be a high school counselor for 21 years. 13 of those years have been at Cappuccino High School. I've been the Sexuality and Gender Alliance co-advisor for 11 of those years. I've had the great pleasure to work alongside many of our LGBTQ students. Our Saga Club has been very active the last few years. We put on the first annual drag show in our district spring of 2019, and then again in January of 2020. My Saga students recently partnered with Mills and San Mateo's GSA and held our first Queer Stories virtual event, where our brave and courageous students shared their stories of coming out. Some of our participants are not out to their families and did not feel safe sharing their stories themselves, so other students read their stories. We invited both Taylor and Parkside Middle School students to join this event in hopes to share with them what it's like to be an LGBTQ student in our district. Although we work hard at CAP to be an inclusive campus, we still have a lot of work to do. I just read a post on the SMUHSD Awareness Instagram page, which is run by current students and alumni of this district. It was a story about a teacher at Cappuccino that was not taking a student's pronouns seriously and not making enough of an effort to use these pronouns, and therefore was modeling to the rest of the class that it's just not that important. I have worked with many LGBTQ students who are out to their families, whether it be gay or bisexual, queer or pansexual, non-binary or trans. And many of these families are accepting and trying their best to support their child. And I have worked with many students who are not accepted, verbally abused on the daily, teased by family members, not allowed to express their gender how they want to, I worked with a gay Latino male who dyed his hair purple and dad shaved his head against his will. I've seen parents almost get into a physical altercation at a school volleyball game because both of their daughters were in a relationship with each other and the parents were not accepting or supportive. We are talking about a group of students with the highest suicide rate in the country. Why would we not, as a district, do everything possible to show our students that they belong here, that we accept them just the way they are, that our schools are a safe place for our LGBTQ students? We live in a country where new anti-LGBTQ legislation is being passed every day, and our LGBTQ students are witnessing this. We need to be as loud and as intentional as possible, showing our LGBTQ students that we stand with them and for them. The pride flag is a beautiful and recognizable symbol of the continued struggle of LGBTQ people in this country. Imagine what it would feel like for our LGBTQ students to see the pride flag wave during October and June at all of our school sites and our district office. Maybe they will be able to exhale just for a minute in a country that often tells them that they don't belong. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Cynthia Eagleton. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I'm here today in my capacity as a parent, family member, and district teacher at the adult school, not as a representative of our union. The question of whether or not to fly the pride flag arrived just as my sister was graduating from college for the first time. Sorry, this makes me emotional. At age 52, when my sister was in school, it came out that she was a lesbian. She was sent to Southern California to live with me in the progressive Bay Area. I didn't try to get her into high school here. I got her a job and I taught her life skills. I tried to educate myself on how to support a teenager whose life had just blown up because she fell in love with a girl. My sister has since built an amazing life for herself. What I want to focus on here is how her education was completely derailed because of her sexual orientation. I have permission to share her story, but not the story of another family member, much more recent. I would like to tell you that story because it pertains. But what I want to say is that these things are still happening. When students struggle with school, when their grades aren't what we want them to be, when they fail a class or drop out altogether, what do we ascribe that to? I know there is tracking of who drops out. I don't know if there's tracking of this along the lines of sexual orientation or gender. I don't think that there should be. That's very complicated, but I think that we need to reflect on this as it affects educational progress. How does being unwelcome affect school performance and participation? How does bias and discrimination and lack of representation affect the ability to focus? This needs to be looked at, discussed, and reflected on where gender and sexuality are concerned. In my family, it had a huge impact. From discussions with my daughter, who graduated from San Mateo High just 3 years ago, I know it continues to do so. I don't know how it affects my students at the adult school. I wish I did know, but I don't know. And I think that there's a lot of reasons for that. Flying the pride flag doesn't fix everything, but it does proclaim loudly and proudly that all of a student is welcome here, and that if they choose to be out, they will be met with support. I guarantee you that will positively impact their ability to receive and utilize the education we take such pains to provide. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Emma, you.
Hi, my name is Emma Yu, and I'm here today to make a statement on behalf of Mayor Charles Stone, who would like to share a few words about raising the Pride or Progress Pride flag. So my name is Charles Stone, and I'm the current mayor of the city of Belmont, as well as the chair of the San Mateo County Transit District. However, today I'm speaking in my capacity as a private citizen rather than as an elected official, and as a very proud alumnus of Hillsdale High School and your district. June is Pride Month in San Mateo County and across the nation. Even in this day and age, 1/3 of all LGBTQIA community members experience discrimination, and 40% of young people in the LGBTQIA community seriously contemplate suicide. Studies have shown that 80% or more of the LGBTQIA community members must put up with bullying behavior from others. Members of the LGBTQIA community need our support and they need our love. Young learners in our community need our support and our love even more. Raising the Progress Pride or Pride flag is a meaningful symbol of support and love for all those identifying as members of the LGBTQIA community. Cities up and down the peninsula, including Belmont and San Mateo, raised the Pride or Progress Pride flag above their city hall earlier this week. The County of San Mateo did so too, at County Center. I urge you to join them in telling the LGBTQIA community members everywhere, but especially the LGBTQIA students in your district, that the San Mateo Union High School District sees them, values them, and stands with them. I would like to close off myself by stressing the importance of supporting the community around us. As a student in this district, I want my fellow classmates to feel comfortable and respected in their schools. This flag represents acceptance, identity, and most importantly, love for so many. Everyone in the San Mateo Union High School District deserves to be seen, understood, and recognized. It's time for our schools to represent the children they serve, be proud of our students, and reflect that the diversity in our district. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. SMUHSD awareness. Good morning.
Yes. Good morning, and thank you, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Skelly, and all attendees. First and foremost, we would like to thank the board, especially Trustees Zuniga, Lan, and Leesdwyer, for organizing another vote on flying the LGBTQ+ Pride flag with all board members present for this morning. Our group would also like to recognize and appreciate local press, specifically the Burlingame Bee and the San Mateo Daily Journal, for spreading the board's previous decision across the district. We also send a big thank you to students, teachers, parents, and community members that sent emails, left voicemails, and spoke outwardly on social media in support of our LGBTQ+ community. It is our participation that is crucial to make wanted change through our democratic institutions. I am a member of SMUHSD Awareness, an Instagram account run by students and recent alumni that posts anonymous stories submitted by members of the school district. We post these stories in order to bring awareness to the discrimination, the lack of response that occurs at our schools, and the drastic need for substantial legislative change. As we shared in our email to Trustees Griffin and Hanley, as SMUHSD Awareness, we have received 57 personal testimonies of rampant homophobia, transphobia, or queerphobia in the past 9 months. These heart-wrenching stories are a direct result of systems of institutional oppression on our campuses. As SMUHSD Awareness, we are incredibly passionate and enthusiastic about the board voting to fly the LGBTQ+ flag during the months of June and October. Last month, we were disappointed by the board's incompetence to provide the bare minimum for our LGBTQ+ students, staff, and community members, a symbol of support and unity. And while we are thrilled for the board to hopefully unanimously vote to fly the flag and tell our LGBTQ+ community members that they are not alone, we would also like to reiterate that our district still has a lot of work to do. We must continue to channel this same energy to pass anti-homophobic and anti-transphobic legislation and addressing inequities. Thank you for your time, and we look forward to seeing the 6 beautiful stripes of the LGBTQ+ flag on our campuses in the coming week.
Thank you. Natalie De La Hunt. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. So this flag actually is not up for today. This is for a story time I'm doing for the library tomorrow. I'm going to be reading some children's books because the Burlingame Library isn't afraid to fly the flag. So I actually was going to talk about something else, but a lot of people have already brought up some points. We're talking about the emotional issue behind this, but, I feel like the board members already hear the emotion behind it. I feel like they've already heard stories. They know the facts behind it. They know about the suicide rate. Maybe one thing that hasn't been brought up, which I will just quickly bring up, is the intersectionality behind the issue of, Black Lives Matter. We've talked a lot about racism this year. The one thing we haven't talked about is the intersectionality behind this, and that, Black LGBT LGBTQ plus youth, actually 50% of them have attempted suicide. That is a number we haven't talked about. So all the work the district has done this year behind racism and anti-bias work, that is a huge number that one more number I want to put on here. But here's another thing I want to talk about. The board was concerned about other groups wanting to raise the flag. They brought up some, I don't even want to justify and bring up what the concern was with the other groups about raising these other flags. I'm not even going to justify naming what those groups were that you were concerned would want to raise flags. So here's the information I will give you. You were saying, how are we going to prevent these other groups from wanting to raise their flag? You wrote a beautiful proclamation about Pride Month that I looked at, and it's well done. I'm so proud of that proclamation. It's as simple as this. No group gets to raise a flag unless they have a proclamation written by you folks, right? So if a group wants to raise a flag, you have to have a proclamation, right? You have to have a proclamation and a month, then they get to come to you and say, we want to raise a flag. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Proclamation, nationally recognized month, they get to come to you and say, please raise our flag. It doesn't have to be this big. You don't have to be concerned. I know you're worried. I heard what you said. It's completely unjustified, right? You don't have to have the staff come up with some big rubric on how are we going to prevent these other folks from coming to you and saying, raise this unreasonable flag. It's completely unnecessary, right? So I know for the folks who don't seem to understand the emotional effect on this, there's your logic right there. There's the logic and the emotion. I've given you your logic. Hopefully you see that. And for the other folks out there, I just want to tell all the students out there, all the LGBTQ plus folks out there, happy Pride, and love proudly, solidarity. Enjoy your month. That's all.
Thank you for your comments. Danielle La Campagna, is that how you say it?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you. I am a parent of 2 teens, and they actually go to Carlmont High School, but I'm here as a psychiatric social worker, and I work for the county, but I took the time off to be here because I heard of the flag issue, and I really hope that this changes this vote so that the flag is going to be flown proudly. I would say high school, anyone who has a teen, who's been a teen, knows that high school is a crucial time. If there's one place that's more crucial to put the flag up, it would be at a high school or at the district. So I really hope that that you've heard the other people spoke so eloquently. I don't think I can give you more stats on the exclusion people feel when they're in high school, and the suicide rate and things like that to convince you. It sounds like you all know that, but I hope as a parent of 2 teens in a neighboring school district, as a community member who's very active, that that we see the flag flown. It's not too late. We're still in the beginning of June, and look forward to being proud of the district. Thanks.
Thank you. Chris Sturkin? No, excuse me, Caitlin O'Flaherty. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, that's good. Hi, everyone. My name is Caitlin. I graduated from Burlingame in 2020, so last year, and I now attend UC Davis, and my pronouns are she, they. I have a short story I want to share with you all. So in my sophomore year, I came out to a few of my friends as a lesbian, and I was super excited and feeling much more confident about myself. So I told the girl I liked her, and I told her about my feelings for her, and she laughed and walked away. And I didn't really think much of it until the next day, when someone in my chemistry class came over to me while I was studying for a test and said, "So you're a lesbo now?" And he looked back at the rest of his friends, smiling and laughing. And so for the next couple of weeks, I was taunted and laughed at, and it was a nightmare. So each time I've gone back to the C building hallway after sophomore year, it's brought me back to a very dark period. When I think of BHS, I don't think of education or I think of my friends, but I think of being outed and being bullied and being severely mentally ill after that. With all of that being said, let's bring this back to the first board meeting where the topic of the pride flag was brought up. I believe it's reprehensible that one of our elected board members, who are supposed to represent the students like me in our community, chose to equivocate the pride flag with the Confederate flag. It's actually shameful, and my community absolutely deserves an apology for it. Because for me, the pride flag is a symbol of hope. It represents the community and the people that had my back through the tough times in my sophomore year. A few days after I was outed, I bought a pride flag that said "You matter" and hung it up on my wall. It reminded me I was not alone. Because being outed hurt my mental health, I decided to attend SMUHSD middle college at CSM, mostly for the educational benefits and the small community aspects, but I also to escape the residual comments and bullying about my sexuality. I actually did a research paper in my junior year there at middle college. I spent 3 months investigating why LGBTQ youth are 4 times more likely to attempt suicide. In fact, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey done by the CDC, I believe we took that at BHS, and I can't quite remember, concluded that 63% of queer kids reported symptoms of depression, whereas their straight counterparts reported it 27% of the time. I essentially concluded that the reason queer youth feel this way is because we ultimately don't have a community in our schools and our families. I hope the board chooses to reverse their decision to fly the flag. I know that if I had seen the pride flag waving in front of the school, it would have made me feel less alone. I was part of the 63% of queer youth that had suicidal thoughts. If the school board and administration will not do anything about students' mental health, which they don't, the least they can do is wave the flag. It's a start. It's a gesture to the closeted kids who need some help and to the outed kids who need community. And if you don't choose to fly it, just know we will all be at voting age at some point. Thank you.
Thank you. Chris Sturkin.
Hello, thank you so much for your time. My name is Chris Sturkin, pronouns he, him. I'm a member of the County of San Mateo's LGBTQ Commission and co-chair of the San Mateo County Stonewall Democrats and former board member for the San Mateo County Pride Center Community Advisory Board. And today I'm here to express my support for you raising the pride flag. I am Uncle Chris to 2 future SMUHSD students, but I'm actually a graduate from the Sequoia Union High School District, specifically Carmel High School. And when I was in high school, I struggled with internalized homophobia. I can remember taking a stance during a student debate in freshman year against gay marriage. It's just very ironic today, now that I'm an openly queer person. But I wanted to share some statistics, which you've already heard many, but on behalf of the commission here, the commission conducted a survey, the 2017 San Mateo County LGBTQ Wellness Survey, that found that the majority of LGBTQ plus youth heard homophobic comments in school. And 74% of those youth experienced sadness, hopelessness, and anxiety for periods of 2 weeks or more, which led them to skip meals, to fail homework assignments, and to even skip school. And thirdly, 77% of students, of youth, considered harming themselves as well. So this was before the pandemic. And I would argue that these statistics have become even more exacerbated, as we've heard from some of the other testimony here today. And by raising the pride flag, you will send an encouraging message to your students that their diverse identities are valued and seen, and you will destigmatize and celebrate their identities. In a time of such uncertainty and rising hate and violence, this flag will boost your students' self-esteem and remind them that you care. And if I had seen that flag on my campus when I was their age, that may have made a great difference in my self-esteem and made me feel more comfortable being out and proud of my identity rather than shutting it down and staying closeted. So just wanted to share that. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope you make the right decision. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Okay, we're going to move on to the board. The board comments, and Trustee Andrade Zuniga, you had brought up some letters that were you going to read? You were proposing to read.
Yeah, there's just a couple. This one is, Dear Board Trustees, I'm writing to you on behalf of Silicon Valley Stonewall Democratic Club in support of the Pride flag raising for Pride Month. This decision should not be based on personal attitudes, but rather an event to show respect for the LGBTQ plus students and community members. I want to thank the board for considering this item. Raising the rainbow flag sends us a signal from the high school district of San Mateo that they support inclusivity and diversity, two things that are so important to the LGBTQ plus community. And then it's co-president, Silicon Valley Stonewall Democrats. And there's one more. Bear with me, my hands are not the best. There's one more. Says, hi, I had intended to share this publicly at today's meeting. However, I will now be driving a child to a doctor appointment. Therefore, I'm emailing my comments. Good morning. Thank you for reconsidering flying the pride flag in June and October. I want to make you aware of an alternative, more inclusive flag referred to as the Progress Pride flag. The multicolored rainbow flag was originally designed by artist Gilbert Baker in 1978 in San Francisco and is now a symbol for the LGBTQ plus community. In fact, it has been recognized as a design classic and has been added to the permanent collection of the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art. The colors of the flag each have specific meaning: red, life; orange, healing; yellow, sunlight; green, nature; blue, serenity; purple, spirit. In 2018, designer Daniel Quasar added a 5-colored chevron to the left side of the rainbow flag to place a greater emphasis on inclusion and progression. The Progress Pride flag includes black and brown stripes to represent marginalized LGBTQ plus communities of color, along with the colors pink, light blue, and white, which are used on the transgender pride flag. As a parent of an LGBTQ plus student in the school district, I am hoping that you will vote to fly the pride flag to show the community how supportive the district is of all of our students. And if you want to show more inclusion and progress, I ask that you fly the Progress Pride flag. They sent an image as well. It's of exactly what I had described. Thank you for your time this morning. Janice Sibin.
Okay.
That's it.
Those are the letters with the comments. So do you
Yeah.
have any, does anyone on the board wish to speak?
Yeah, I do.
Right.
Can I?
Trustee Land put his hand up there.
Let Lehia finish. She was on a roll.
Okay. Okay, go ahead, Lydia.
Thank you. You know, I think everyone knows how I feel about this. It definitely affects so many things for our students, as Mr. Sturkin and Caitlin and a bunch of other people have expressed. I did also want to advocate for the more inclusive pride flag to be raised, if we will move towards that vote. But I really ask of my fellow trustees to please think about the impacts of this on our students and our communities. It's very important that we represent everyone in our and like I said at the last meeting, I mean, we're talking about diversity, inclusion, and all of those things, and this doesn't show that at all. If we vote not to fly the flag. So thank you. Oh, one more thing. The intersectionality between all of our communities is very apparent, and then even with people with disabilities in the LGBTQ plus community, I mean, there's so many issues around so many things. So we have a chance right now to set an example. Thank you.
Okay, Trustee Land.
Thanks, President Griffin. So I apologize for not being at this last vote and having it being a torn vote. I definitely see both. I see what President Griffin and Mr. Hanley were talking about, trying to set protocols And I still think it's important that we do that. But I don't want to be at the sacrifice of trying to be accepting and inclusive and reach out to those who really need to see what we believe in and that we're supporting and that we're accepting and that we're allies. From an educator's point of view, I mean, I constantly bring up the fact that my whole career has been in education. You know, I've talked to a lot of politicians about the idea that you have to Maslow before you can bloom, an educational term. Maslow means you're taking care of your basic needs. And as we've heard these stories, it's really taking care of your basic needs to feel accepted and part of things before you can really learn and bloom with Bloom's taxonomy about reaching critical thinking and higher level thinking skills. We talk about professional learning communities, and you know, that's what we do in our district. And I'm very proud that that's something that they do at all the high schools and take time. One of the most important things that we talk about is all means all. That phrase, sorry, I'm in school. Sorry, that was my recess bell. All means all, meaning we think of all kids the same. All kids need the help that they need, and they need what they need. And in this case, it's being heard or being recognized or having an ally. Putting up a flag is a symbol that we support them. And even though it's going to be hard for students in the LGBTQ community, I think it's important that we recognize that there has to be symbols. Nothing's perfect, as a previous speaker said, but we have to show that we're supportive and that this is what the district stands for. Having a proclamation is wonderful, but if we don't have a symbol to show behind it, what does it really mean? I think one speaker, I think Natalie, spoke up and said, well, yeah, we have national months that are recognized by National Archives that are done by proclamations, presidential proclamations and presidential executive orders, Women's History Month, Black History Month, Hispanic Heritage Month, Disability Awareness Month. All of these can be flags that we can fly that would be inclusive. If we want to do a proclamation, then the proclamation can support that. And that's how we have the regulations and protocols that we need for our district to be able to make this work for us. But to not approve of this, I think we need to say that we need to be supportive, accepting of students. I think that's the criteria. I think, and that's why I think it's really important that we vote yes on this, because it is about showing that we as a board are inclusive, are accepting, supporting, and caring of all of our students. And if we can show that in any way, shape, or form, we should. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Hanley.
Thanks. So I have a number of points I want to make. I want to thank the speakers this morning who I thought made very good presentations. I can't say the same thing for a lot of the emails that have come in over the last number of days. And that concerns me. And I think, you know, it's an example of why there's been a big revolt against political correctness in this country, because there's an inherent arrogance and self-righteousness in a lot of what I've received, that anyone who has a different perspective or a different view than kind of the general popular take on an issue is you know, automatically either dumb or uneducated or bigoted. And that's, you know, that's where we're getting into, you know, this complete separation and inability to make any kind of progress in on these issues. And it's been particularly worrisome that some of those emails came from faculty members. You know, so I'm not happy the way this thing has progressed. You know, I have a perfectly clear conscience of supporting the hopes and aspirations of all the district students, and I've done that since day one when I was elected in 2001. So I've got 20 years on this board. And as of December, of advocating strongly for diversity, equity, high expectations. And, I was advocating for low income, minority students, students underprivileged, before a lot of people in this district could spell those words. And I paid a high price for the people who've been around here for a long time. Remember my first 7 years on this board, they weren't very pleasant years to be on this board. I paid a high price for advocating for those people, for those students. So I fought in the trenches for educational diversity and equity in Oakland. I opened a Waldorf school with not by myself, but with a number of other people. First urban public Waldorf school in the San Antonio district, right next to Fruitvale, one of the poorest areas in Oakland. It's one of the most diverse schools in Alameda County. I opened 3 schools in Richmond, right next to the Iron Triangle. So, there's been no louder voice on this board for the last 20 years for the underprivileged students in this district. None. So, I don't need to be lectured to about supporting students. I've been supporting students since day one on this board. And my life has been in education and LGBTQ issues. You continue to learn. It's a lifelong learning process. But I understand LGBTQ issues very, very well. So what I was saying, which I don't think anybody, a lot of people that wrote to me, I don't know that they even listened to the board meeting. But the issue is not about recognizing Pride Month. If you remember, I made the motion to approve the proclamation. So, I've never voted against, I've never voted against anything having to do with LGBTQ issues before this board. I've attended a lot of trainings and so forth over the years, over many years, on diversity and inclusion, and all of those issues. And my work in minority communities, not just in California, but across the nation. When I was executive director of the American Center for School Choice, I've learned a tremendous amount in my lifetime on these issues. So it hasn't been about the rainbow flag on district property. It's been about a district policy that has served us very well about having flags on the flagpoles. There are a lot of places on district property where the rainbow flag can be displayed and flown. The flagpoles are a different case, and we discussed it. I mean, this has come up before, and we discussed it previously, and we've always decided not to change that policy. And that policy has served us well, that we just fly the national flag and the state flag. And one of the reasons that we've done that in the past is we need a place on campus that reminds us that we're Americans first and we're Californians first. And for God's sake, today we need that more than any other time. I mean, we've just gone through a period where we're just separating ourselves more and more into these tribes. I mean, we couldn't even get ourselves to wear a mask and stand a few feet apart without, having 600,000 Americans die and 33 million Americans get infected with a terrible disease. I just don't remember a time when there's a huge national crisis and Americans haven't been able to come together. I mean, we're floating in an absolute sea of vaccine right now, and we can't get Americans to take it. And the whole world is looking at us. We've got a number of countries in the world that have absolutely 0% of their population able to get vaccinated. And, Governor Newsom asked last week, what the hell's wrong with us? We need more people asking what the hell is wrong with us. And I just don't think this is the time where we run the danger of our flagpoles becoming, billboards for interest groups, no matter how deserving they are. I wouldn't support putting the La Raza flag up there, or the Filipino flag, or the Mexican flag, or the Second Harvest Food Bank, or the Red Cross flag. I don't want to dilute the flagpole. There are lots of, that doesn't mean I don't want to put the rainbow flag on our campuses or near our district office. There's lots of places it can go on district property. But I don't want it on, I don't want to dilute the flagpole. That's my concern. The other point I want to make is that the point that I think both Mr. Griffin and I raised is not a theoretical point. And the people that have been around here for about a decade or so will remember that, and this was before Trump ever became a political force in the US. I think it was about 10 years ago. There was a group here that I think even had 501c3 status, and it was promoting European culture. And you remember, I think, Mr. Griffin, this guy was coming to meetings for 6 or 8 months, and he showed up at almost every single meeting in public comments. And he was going to other school districts also. And it was about European culture. I don't remember the exact name of his organization, but he was promoting European culture. And he was upset as a district at that time, this is like 10 years ago, that the district was discriminating against European culture and basically white culture. And at one point we did have to put him on the agenda because he kept insisting that he deserved an agenda place. So this is not theoretical. I don't think this group was not a well-funded group in my recollection. But what we're seeing right now is, polls are showing that Republicans believe that discrimination against white people is at least an equal problem to discrimination against other groups, including LGBTQ people. So the big difference is that these groups now are raising millions of dollars. You're seeing campaigns and advocacy attempts in state legislatures. This is why you're getting legislation passed in state legislatures. So, when we're changing our policy without really taking a look at what the implications of this are long-term and what could happen in terms of lawsuits, legal actions, this is not theoretical. Flags have been used as instruments of oppression for hundreds of years. So my vote against doing this is not aimed at the LGBTQ community in any way at all. It's not, it's preserving you know, the fiduciary risk that I see the district could be getting itself into, and the policy that we've always had about the national flag and the state of California flag. And I consider that I'm doing my job, and I am supporting students. I'm supporting the district, and I'm looking ahead at what I see as real threats that can emerge, and real things that need more consideration than we're giving it right now. But I'm not taking a second seat to anybody in my support of students in this district.
Thank you, Trustee Hanley. Trustees Lee, Dwyer.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have to say I was really taken aback by what happened at our last meeting, because I had assumed that we would approve the resolution, fly the flag. I didn't consider it even as something that would be subject to much discussion. So I was really, really surprised. But then given it all has transpired in the last year, I probably should not have been surprised, but I really was. And I sit here today and wonder, why are we even having this meeting? We should have just approved it, because it could have been flying on June 1st. And it isn't. And then, I'm not a fan of the word I, because no one on an elected board is an I. We're a we. And there's 5 of us, and we represent 6 cities, and we have the job of doing the best we can to provide the best education for every student in this district. And that includes their educational experience. And I think that the district has paid a lot of attention, very much so in the recent years, on the educational experience that we're providing to our students. I think we were all very stressed that our students were not coming in during the pandemic. They could not be in school to be with each other and having the social, emotional experience that they needed to mature and grow into adults. We were not able to give that to them. And that was a real struggle for this board. And I think that we've really brought in more psychologists, and we've now hired a social worker, because we are very concerned, about what we can do to support our students so that they can achieve, and they can have the opportunity that all of them are in this country to have. It really bothers me. But then I'm stepping into where we are as a country today, and I look at the preamble to the Constitution. It says, "We the people." And to me, the word "we" no one's living up to it. We're supposed to be one. Everyone is supposed to be created equal in this country. And we are divided by racism, ethnicity, socioeconomic status, immigration status, and your gender preference, and all of the things that make you a person divide you. And to not fly the pride flag this time continues us on the path of division and derision, rather than coming together as we the people. And I think we really all need to step back and look at the preamble of the Constitution. And then I don't want to get into the Constitution, because there's a lot of things we aren't living up to in that document, but just the we need to focus on we, because everyone is to be treated equally, and everyone has the same importance. So the whole thing really bothers me. I think that we need to move forward. We need to approve this. And as far as the future, let the future come, and let us deal with it as it comes, because we need to do that. We need to step back and address the issues when they come to us. I don't want to get ahead and say this one can do this and that one can do that. These are our students. This is the pride flag. They should have pride in who they are, just as everyone in this country should have pride in who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Andrade Zuniga, before you get to speak, I never get to speak. I get the leftovers. I have a comment, and I actually received, as I'm sure everybody did, hundreds and hundreds of emails. And I spent a lot of time reading those emails and responding. And I think most of them were very thoughtful and very passionate. And they were well conceived. There were a few that weren't, and they were they were there. I thanked everybody for their comments, and I apologized to a whole bunch of people and I continue to apologize. This is not even my first public apology, and this includes the awareness group that what I ended up doing. I focused on a policy issue and should have actually focused on the people issue first and the policy issue second. And one of the things I did, and I mentioned this to Trustee Land, I actually went and looked at the U.S. code on the flag and flag flying, and I spent some time that following Saturday figuring this out and reliving. I think Greg and I relived our Boy Scout era, and remembering all the things we were taught about flags, and so I had a refresher course there. And one of the things that I asked that night, and one of the this I grew up, I said, and it was like, well, the reasons that night were, we should do it because other people do it, because the county does it and the city does it. Well, I don't think we should do it because of that. I think we should do it to support the student and others who've been marginalized by our society. And see, that's, like you have to articulate a reason, and the reason can't be because others do it. And I think, we can show the support, and we can show that we are inclusive and welcoming and support everyone. And I mean, I think that is a very good reason. And I think we can keep, and Ms. De La Hunt had a very good comment. And I was overthinking the policy. It's real, keep it simple, stupid. And that's me. I was overthinking the whole policy thing. So I should not have put the policy before the people. And so I've got to consider that. And the other thing, I was not deriding the pride flag, and I did not mean to associate any other flags with that flag. And that was not being disrespectful. At least it was not the intent of me to be disrespectful to the pride flag in our discussion based on any other things that I threw out in terms of names. So I apologize if you took it the wrong way. It was not meant that way. So I don't know that I can, and I can be any more forthcoming, because it was like staying after school and writing 10,000 times, until my hand hurt. So anyway, that's my comment. Miss Andrade Zuniga.
Thank you, Trustee Griffin. Well, that means a lot, to just consider what, everything that you just said. I wanted to also, just like you were saying, with its representation. Unfortunately, our federal flag has not represented everyone. And so this is why we do have things to represent all of our communities and all of our groups that have been excluded. So also, I wanted to take a look at how we use our language. Sometimes, well, language, it matters, and it also divides, and it makes people feel separated from just our communities. For example, using words like quote unquote those people, things like that, that's divisive. So I think we as a group, maybe we should have some training or some more information on inclusive language and how that affects our communities and how that affects our leadership and what we're doing here. So I just wanted to make that comment. Thank you.
Can I call the question to the vote?
Well, Trustees Lees Dwyer, did you not take your hand down?
Oh, I'm moving approval.
Oh, second. There we go. Second.
Now I'll take my hand down.
So you ambushed everybody else, and
No.
Trustees Lees Dwyer made the motion. Trustee Land made the second.
I'm trying again. I'm trying again.
You're trying again? What, to make a comment or?
No, I just I want us to vote.
Okay, trustee Andrade Zuniga. Now this motion, are to just understand the motion, are we putting the proclamation and the flag back together? Or are we just,
All in one in all.
All in one.
okay, just I want for.
Proclamation's already been approved. We don't
Well, I
need to vote on
understood that. I understood that, but when I read the agenda item, it looked like it was the proclamation and the flag. But in any event, trustee Andrade Zuniga, how do you vote?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, we'll take that as an absolutely yes. Trustee Land.
Absolutely yes.
Okay, we got two absolutely yeses. Trustees Lees Dwyer.
Absolutely yes.
Okay, now we got three absolutely yeses. Trustee Hanley, how do you vote?
No.
Okay, and one no, and I will vote yes. So it'll be a 4-1 vote. Okay, well, we thank everybody for speaking out. We thank the public for their comments. Is there anything else on this agenda item? That concludes the special meeting. And I understand we're going to go into closed session.
Is
That's
this
a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
Do we have the flags and will they go up today?
They've been ordered and they will, our plan was to put them up on Monday, but you know, that was just because flags are already up. We have to come down and up, but whatever the board's preference is.
Do you have them?
We do have them.
Oh, okay.
okay? Sorry, President Griffin, we have a separate link for the closed session. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.